This week I played in my first 15k event of the year on clay here in Antalya, Turkey. In this video I'm going to show you how my first week here went. Right, so we have arrived in Turkey. We're at the airport now. We're going to go to the taxi. Dad and Lucian are with me, as you can see. The taxi ride was about half an hour to the hotel from the airport and was a pretty scenic view. So this is our room. Chair here, 2 beds there, sitting area, very nice. 2 cupboards, and then as you come out here, got like a little private kind of pool here, and over there and over there I believe are the tennis courts. So I think this will do pretty nicely. Match days are always on Sundays, so I started off with a nice breakfast repping the Les Breakers Jules Marie hoodie. As you can see, I was eating some pretty plain food, some eggs, some bread, and a nice bowl of fruit to wash it down at the end. I don't like to eat too heavy in the morning of a match just because I like to stay quite light and I don't want anything to be, digesting too much in the system. I was playing first on at 10 o'clock at a different site, so we had to take a shuttle bus in the morning, which was pretty packed with loads of tourists and other tennis players. After the 10-minute shuttle to the tennis venue, me and Lucian got to hitting for a warm-up. Again, pretty standard match warm-up, about 45 minutes before my match. I wanted to have about a 20-minute break in between this hit and the match, so we played for about 15 minutes, hitting up and down the middle, doing the basics pretty well, trying to get accustomed to these courts, which were pretty slow. We also did a lot of work on the backhand cross because that was an area I felt I wanted to be super solid in the match before progressing to some volleys and of course some serves towards the end. Lucian's with me over these next few weeks. He will also be participating in the pre-qualies event and maybe signing in for the qualifying of these. But there's no guarantees obviously because these events are super competitive to get into. Yes guys, so I'm at the club here now. They have so many courts. I think they have like 40 tennis courts. I'm on court 22, so I'm waiting for that match to finish and then I'll be ready to go on. Yeah, it's my first clay court match in like 9 months, so I'm really excited to get on the court, start the grind. I'm gonna, work on getting onto my forehand as much as possible, aiming for good backhand depth and having a very good mindset. First round qualies is never easy, having arrived yesterday, so it's gonna be a good test and I'm looking forward to it. So now let's jump straight into the match. This was obviously on one of the courts at the tennis academy here in Turkey with about 30 to 40 courts. It was a little bit dusty, as you can see by the beginning of this match. It was pretty hot out, so the conditions were pretty dry. My opponent ranked, I believe, around 1700 ATP in the world, so obviously being ATP ranked, had picked up some ATP points earlier this year, I believe it was. And of course, as you can see by this first game, playing a pretty solid game. I'd never seen him play before, so opening up with those 3 very, very strong points, I knew it was going to be a pretty tough match. Of course, playing the first time on the clay was going to be, a fun experience, and I knew that one of the things that I have to adjust my mindset for is that the balls are going to be a lot slower, the rallies are going to be longer, and you just have to utilize the angles and the spin a lot more than you have to on a hard court. On a hard court, you can kind of move forwards and backwards, take time away, etc. On here, it's a lot more about outgrinding your opponent, making him move and tiring him out almost. And I feel like at the beginning of this match, my opponent was just doing a better job than I was. He was quite a tall guy, so he had a pretty strong serve and big levers, so he was able to move me around the court. And I felt that, especially after that first service game, he didn't really allow me to get loads of rhythm in the match. There were a few couple long rallies like this one where I was trying to step in and be aggressive and get on my forehand as much as possible. But he did get a break point pretty early on. And I was being pretty eager to go kick to his backhand and take the first ball and go back behind. I ended up giving him a pretty early break, which I was pretty disappointed with. But I knew that, every point counts in these futures qualifying events. Anything can happen. He can also get a ball on the line, which, is a little bit frustrating, but that's just going to happen. So, no matter what the score is, I was kind of telling myself to just, have a very good mindset, be positive, and keep fighting in this match, because a lot of the times you see in these qualifying matches is that, players will have big dips, and also big times where they're playing well. So if you can kind of capitalize and stay a bit more, positive the whole time and try and have more of a consistent level of tennis, I think you're going to be able to break down your opponent and win the key games. Also guys, only this percentage of you that watched last week's video are actually subscribed. So if you haven't already, it's the best way to support the channel, and also it means a lot to me if you go down there, check if you're subscribed. If you are, great. If you haven't, click that subscribe button. And now let's jump back into the video. As you can see, he's pretty much playing the perfect service games and return games at the moment. He's hitting the lines, he's moving the ball very effectively. I was giving him a few cheap points, of course, which is going to happen. But, you know, I was 4-love down here. I was probably a little bit less stressed than most other people would be here down at 4-love, because I didn't feel like I was necessarily playing badly, which is, you know, one of those, you know, traits in a qualifying match. I know it's a match tiebreak in the third set, so, you know, if I can maybe hang on and try and, you know, get a bit of rhythm in this set, being 5-love down, and, you know, try and take it to a match tiebreak, that's going to be my biggest bet, especially after being 5-love down. So here we have a pretty key point here at break point me, 5-1 down but 40-30 up. I managed to win my service game, and I just chip a return short and you know, just make sure with that ball down the line. But I managed to break him. So the 5-love first set deficit wasn't to hold. You know, I didn't want to get bageled basically, but I found that actually when I started playing, you know, slightly more aggressively and moving the ball around, and now that I found my way into the match, played a few games, that I was really comfortable. And I ended up losing the set 6-3. The camera cut out towards the end of that set, but it pretty much played out as the beginning of the first. He ended up holding serve, but I definitely felt more confident. I ended up starting the second set pretty strongly, winning my first game 1-love, and I had a little bit of confidence about me. I really felt like I could beat my opponent. I had a bit of belief. He was beginning to make a few mistakes, and I felt like I was really, you know, being aggressive, and it was working. I was getting some good depth with my forehand, being super consistent with my backhand. Of course, there were going to be, you know, a few blips every now and again, but I get a chance very early on here to take the break at 40-15. I think the biggest thing for me here was belief, and I said to myself, look, just hustle for every single point, and no matter what. So, you know, you can see me here really far behind the baseline, digging that ball out, guessing the right way on that backhand. He's just gone over him. The ball's gone over him there. And I said to myself, just rip the ball to his backhand here. And he ends up missing long, so huge point there to break, which I was super happy with, to go up 2-love. And now it was all about maintaining this lead and taking this second set. Of course, going down 5-love and taking it back to 5-3 and nearly taking him to 5-4 in that first set. Obviously, I had a lot of the momentum, having won 5 of the last 6 games here. That's one thing I also think about in these matches is, you know, what's the actual momentum looking like of the game? Sometimes it will feel like, you know, you've just lost the first set, but actually, you know, I've won 5 of the last 6 games. I do end up getting broken here, but I definitely had a lot of confidence that I could break his serve, because I didn't necessarily think that, you know, his first or second serves were doing loads and loads of damage, that it was particularly a weapon. So I just wanted to get into the point and, you know, draw the rallies out slightly longer, because that's where I felt quite comfortable, like this, moving him around, making him move, maybe throwing in the odd drop shot. I think that was really working at the beginning of this second set. That's an example of the absolute pure hustle that I was talking about. It doesn't have to be pretty. Sometimes it's okay to win ugly, and the forehand chip was actually working pretty well on this pretty dry court. It was tough to hit up on the ball, and I definitely think that was strategy was really paying off for me, and, you know, that slightly more unconventional style of hitting was really working. You know, just hustling for every ball was also giving me confidence and winning me points, and, you know, I was beginning to serve better, and as you can see here, going up 4-1, I begin to really find my flow and find my element on this court. see how dry the court is just by how much dust is coming up off the court. But I end up taking that game to go 5-2 up in this second set. And I try to make sure that I'm, keeping the concentration. I definitely think that I have a little bit of a tendency sometimes to just get a bit too relaxed. So I think definitely coming into the net, coming forwards was one of the better strategies. That hot dog was definitely did not go to plan. So my opponent, gets a few game points here on serve at 5-2, and I know I'm going to have to serve it out at 5-3 if I end up losing this point, which I eventually do. So 5-3 up, but still on serve in the second set. I was pretty happy, having won 8 of the last 12 games. That the strategy was working. I go 15-30 down in this game, trying to really get the kick serve out to the backhand. I slightly mistimed that backhand line, which was really working for me, in the whole set before. I was serving pretty good, wanted to go with the 1-2 punch and get a bit unlucky there with the net cord, giving him the break back at a very, very key moment in this second set. But I stayed calm. Lucien was very good behind the court, giving me a lot of encouragement, a lot of getting me pumped, basically. And so as you can see here, also coming forwards, putting a bit of the pressure on him. This was a pretty big point here at 15-30. Of course, I don't want to give him 2 game points to get back into the set at 5-all, because then, anything can happen having lost a few games. So I was just sticking to be super consistent on that backhand side, rip the ball with my forehand, try and get on the forehand as much as possible, and I went back inside in and got us to 30-all here, another crucial point. That point was just ultimate grind mode, and I get rewarded with my first set point, and my opponent double faults. So a really good switch of momentum there. And it takes us to the beloved match tiebreak, right here, right now. 10 points to beat this ATP ranked opponent. Again, one of the things I was saying to myself was be consistent. I think sometimes I have the tendency to either go for a bit too much or not accelerate with the racket head, so I tried to be consistent and went up 4-1 in this match tiebreak. My opponent was making a few unforced errors, so I knew that if I can just stick with him here, make balls with good depth, he's gonna try and feel a bit pressure and try and come forwards. And I went 5-1 up at the change of ends. Strong start, but still only halfway to go. And you know how these tie breaks go, they can very, very easily slip away from you. So I really wanted to get as much of a lead as possible by basically just winning every single point, which sounds obvious, but in the moment that's all I was thinking about, just the next point, next point, next point, and focusing on making balls, being consistent, but not giving him too many balls where I'm hitting loads of them short. 8-4 here at the change of ends, 2 points away. And at this point I'm telling myself to just make the ball, try and hit it as much as possible. You can see my racket head acceleration is not really what it was in the beginning of the match. Slightly nervous, basically. I was just chipping and hoping that he was kind of going to miss. I also kind of had the game plan of just getting big into his backhand, and at this point I said to myself, look, just go for it, crunch the ball, and I think he's going to miss, and try and get it low in that awkward situation, get him into the net, go over the forehand volley, and he misses wide, and I take the win in the first round of qualifying. That's my first win against an ATP ranked player, a very good step in the right direction. Yes guys, so I just finished my match, absolute grind in the heat, managed to get it done. He was ranked about 1,700 ATP, so or around there, so it was a good win against a ranked player. I think one of my first wins against a ranked player ever, so that's a great start. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next round. I'm a bit tired, so I'm going to try and get some good recovery in, go have a stretch, and try and head back on the shuttle, which I can hear arriving right now. So let's go do that, get prepared for tomorrow, and yeah, get everything sorted out. Let's go, come on. Now from the tennis venue, it was straight to lunch. Pretty big lunch, having not had too much for breakfast and playing a pretty long match, as you can see here with Lucien. First up, we have some fruit. Let me show you what's inside. Some tomato, cucumber, chicken, rice, lots of stuff. Over here we got some pasta, a chicken wrap here, and some bread. Okay, so we're gonna eat this now. I might not eat all of it, it's a lot of food, but I've obviously played a long match. Also got a whole 2-litre thing of water to hydrate. I'm gonna next hop into the cold bath, so cue to me jumping in. Now, like I showed you earlier on in the video, we had a pool outside of our room. Now this pool was literally ice cold. I'm telling, like under 10 degrees. It doesn't look it, looks pretty nice, but I'm telling you it was freezing. So I said to myself that I want to try and do 5 to 6 minutes in this cold pool, maybe half with just the legs and the abs in, and then the rest after that. This is obviously great for recovery. I was doing it at Moratoglu. It's something that I highly recommend after, you know, long matches that you have, because you really feel much better, not just straight afterwards, but also the next day when you again have to play another match.
Bro, just turn up and cuff him. Like, you're overthinking it way too much.
Yes, guys, so we're now at the club for day 2, so match 2 of qualifying. I'm not actually playing here, I'm just warming up here with Lucien because there are literally so many courts. I think 40 or 50 courts here. So we're gonna get a good practice in. Like I said, we're gonna aim for around 45 minutes, a good session, working on not only just hitting balls, hitting up and down the middle, but also working on some movement on my backhand side, just some of the stuff that in the last match I wasn't too happy with. So of course this was the practice before my second match. I was playing an Argentinian player at the hotel, this time on one of the show courts. So me and Lucien headed down to the tennis academy where we could warm up in the morning. I think I was 5th on, so I had quite a while before my match. I don't really like that too much because I tend to overthink basically the match a little bit. I like to just get on with it straight away and really focus on what I need to do. But nevertheless, I was still very excited. I'd obviously come off a very, very strong win, so I was excited to get a test of my level. Me and Lucien, as you can see here, just warming up, you know, just the basics pretty much. I don't like to do anything too fancy. We did a few specialized drills that I wanted to work on, a bit of cross, a bit of open patterns, and of course working on the serve. We actually had to move courts during this session because we hadn't actually booked the court, hence the change of scenery once or twice. But I was feeling really good, feeling loose, feeling nice and fluid, which is always what you want on the day of a match.
You take it and leave it, I am on to you. I know how you feel, my love is all for you.
Now, unfortunately, this is the part of the video where we have some not so great news. The second round, I was supposed to play against an Argentinian player by the name of Sean Hess, I believe, ranked around 1400 ATP in the world. Now, we were on one of the 2 courts being live streamed on the ITF Live Scores app. Now, unfortunately, I asked the ITF supervisor to be able to film the match, which he said that wasn't possible due to the live streaming, and he said that there would be a copy provided to me of my match after it had been played. Now, this information was wrong. I emailed the ITF, emailed and asked the tournament supervisor after the match, and they basically said it's not possible to get a copy of any of the match footage. So thank you, ITF. So whilst that sucks, I can give you a little brief rundown of how the match went. Overall, I thought it was a very, very closely fought battle. I unfortunately lost the first set 6-2, didn't have too great of a start, but eventually found my rhythm. Quite a few of you guys came out to support, which was great, and so in the second set, that kind of gave me the energy to fight back. I was a set and 3-1 down, but managed to win the second set, I believe 7-5 in a closely fought battle. We then went to a match tiebreak where anything can happen. I went 9-6 down, he played a few very, very strong points, and then I fought back to 9-all, playing also a very few clutch points. At 9-all, he eventually did win those 2 points to win 11-9 in the breaker, which was super, super tough. It's never easy to lose in the second round of qualifying 11-9, but it was definitely one of the best matches I have played, and one of the best matches I have played on the clay so far. So it gave me a good deal of confidence going through to the next weeks. I'm going to be here for multiple weeks and sharing my whole journey here with you guys here on YouTube, of course. So that's, of course, it for this week, but make sure that you stay tuned because there'll be plenty more content coming out of here in Turkey over the next few weeks. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.